hopped out the shower, hopped out the bath, whatever. So messy hair. Uh, Finally finished Thomas Paine, Common Sense. Um, I don't know. I've been in a kick for like reading something from around the Revolutionary era, American Revolution, and I don't know. I didn't have much takes. I kind of split this up across a few weeks, as it just seemed to like, I don't know. I'd have a kick where like I'd like to read it, and then I got through a chunk, and I just lost interest. Uh, Probably because he's anti-papist, and I might not be the best Catholic, but like the viewpoint is kind of annoying. Or it's like, oh, this viewpoint's kind of like, oh, you're kind of annoying me. I like the logic, but you're annoying me because it's like this is I don't know, redundant. Even if he when he does argue about freedom of religion and whatnot, um, at least at the close to the end. I had this weird parallel, like the feeling coming into the end of the book, or hearing this kind of ideology or this setup where it kind of seemed like he's kind of veering off from his own perspective or something. And I don't know if that's just my own sentiment or own perception of it, but there was that weird parallel feeling where it's like, in Plato's Republic, granted, it's been like 3 years since I read that thing, but, it sounded like he's veering off the deep end. And you're like, what is this guy going on about? And I don't know, it just, that kind of disconnected me from like the concepts he was talking about, things he was talking about, you know, life, liberty, and, maybe not freedom of choice is not the proper term I'd want to use. Choose your own destiny, right? Like the manifest destiny kind of mentality. And it's funny because like there's certain political parallels that um maybe not so much with like I'll just say like with modern government and American government, where certain people are at the helm, and I'm saying politically agnostic here. So yeah, the wrong people are in charge. It seemed to feel this way for a while. I don't know if that's just the way things are, if that's because of whatever political interference, who knows. But there's this sentiment where like there's unworthy custodians, unworthy successors. I had a few notes that I wrote like earlier on, right? And the custodians kind of treat the populace as Untermensch, for lack of better terms, where it's like less than, even though you know that your tax dollars theoretically are being misappropriated. And in the case of the American Revolution, these American tax dollars, or the colonial Americans, their tax dollars were being spent on a war that they had no influence nor care about, unless they were, I would assume, loyalists to the British Empire. And this misappropriation, abuse of a colonial region, let's say, a colonial populace, kind of led to a lot of dissidence and distrust, and the creation of the extremists who we would now call the American founding fathers. Um, Except for that, there's several like quotes. I do like his writing style, and there's moments in the book that are just funny. Or like I know there was one line, something to do with like I believe it had something to do with prostitutes moralizing, or like the non virtuous people moralizing or gesturing how things should be or whatever, or like telling people how society should be ran, uh, even though they don't have their own house in order per se. Capturing that thought. And here's one of my favorite quotes from the book: like, even brutes don't devour their own young, or their young, or like the misappropriation, the overtaxation of Americans, colonial Americans. it's kind of funny or ironic. There are certain parallels in, well, just say modern America, that these tax dollars are going to formerly going towards foreign regions or foreign powers, and maybe that influence is slowly eroding. I can't really say. I'm not certain what I'm allowed to say as a former federal employee, and it's just strange times, and there are certain parallels today. I think, especially with all this I wouldn't say a misappropriation of power. However, at the same time, I could understand that viewpoint. However, I'm kind of at this weird perspective where everything online seems to be fake. Everything seems to be able to be falsified, or we're in like the golden age of creativity and also the golden age of fraud, where now anything can be posted online and none of it is real. Whereas back in the day, you could probably believe things you saw on the internet, whereas now nothing's real. And while saying that, yes, I'm a human, right? So some of my mentality was like, when I wrote down some of these notes, like, we don't live in honorable times, and it's still like relevant. Where the baseline, moral argument America was founded on, like Christian values and beliefs, and it's at the core of the country and founding, and like there's this weird viewpoint with moral law and like what's legal, and we toil with that as humans, as Americans, as people living in our times, and it's interesting seeing people across history, across fiction, across literature per se, having the same kind of viewpoints as you did 250 years ago or 200 years ago. I'm arguing this only because of reading I forget, some Russian literature from the 1800s, and turn of the century Japanese fiction, right, with Mishima and his great tetralogy, Sea of Fertility, I believe. Spring Snow is great, but Runaway Horses is better. And I don't know, you're just a product of your times, and the era, the generation, or you're born into, or you live through, are gonna be strange and chaotic, and I just feel like and expect that to be a part of adulthood. Anyway, one of my favorite terms from there, hearken, I think. Don't remember what it was. Sounded cool. And then banditi, which I'll just assume is probably bandits in Italian. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble for a few minutes. If you want to catch anything in the future, go check out the playlist. I just made it. And then if you're interested in anything prior, just scan through that. If you're interested in any of the founder stuff that I talk about, go ahead and check it out. I'm gonna have a page of everything, and that's kind of me. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you around. Bye-bye.